the intensity of the full moon, at least for most of us. I really hope that all of the intensity of your life is soft and easily manageable. But happy halfway mark between the Virgo full moon and the Taurus full moon is what's going to be next, it looks like. Oh my gosh, wow, I suck. As soon as I said that, I was like, that doesn't make sense. What? Taurus doesn't come after Virgo. I'm an idiot, you guys. The new moon energy we've been working with this entire time has supposed to have been Aries. Kind of funny, kind of not. If you're familiar with the zodiac signs and what Aries looks like the symbol, it makes sense that I just, looked at it and went, oh, Virgo, okay. Because it just looks like a big V. Okay, well, it's really not that big of a deal. Virgo talks about healthcare and self-care and taking care of all of the health things in your life. I did still talk about setting goals and starting new things, which is exactly what the fiery Aries energy is good for anyway. But this is a great opportunity to look at the Virgo aspects and then look at the Aries aspects and then think about your past 2 weeks and what has actually come to pass and what themes and characteristics are there. Kind of side by side analyze and decide for yourself, is there any proof to that in there, especially if you didn't even realize. And why did nobody tell me? Did none of y'all realize that I was just out of my mind crazy with that one? And Savannah, Virgo is in August, September. What are you talking about? So I will post the Aries new moon aspects and whatnot in the description below, and you can just kind of analyze that. I want you to analyze it and see what overlaps with your life over the past 2 weeks, because again, these energies work whether we're aware of them or not. So if you've been man, I don't know, none of these Virgo aspects have been showing themselves, go back and look and see if Aries aspects have been showing themselves instead, because we're human. Everybody's human. Don't put anybody on a pedestal. Nobody. Always enter everything with a little bit of skepticism, but a lot of open mind. Boy. Okay. Anyway, moving on to the full moon. Lots of things that we can do with this energy. We're moving into the spring, most of us here in the Northern Hemisphere anyway. So spring cleaning is a thing that's wonderful and great to do and benefits all aspects of your life, not just your environment, because, as within, so without. And if we take care of our outside world, it's going to ripple inward to us and affect our inside world. So you'd be amazed how cleaning your space and your environment, dusting, clearing out your actual physical occupancies can create more space and cleanliness within the mind and the body as well. Brandy and I have started a new series about herbs. Particularly, we've started with the ones that you can most likely find in your yard. And even more specifically, we started with the ones that you can find in your yard in the eastern U.S., because that's where we're at. So if you're somewhere else, sorry. Don't know if you have these herbs that we're talking about, which are weeds. People have been calling them weeds, but lots of weeds have a lot of benefits, medicinally and whatnot. A lot of them you can make teas out of. So if you're interested in those, go check those out. But regardless, I'm a big fan of herbal teas, and it's a way of connecting to nature and the earth and your body and calming the mind. A lot of teas have a lot of different medicinal properties, and full moon's always about self-care and self-love and reflecting, and what better than to reflect over a nice cup of warm herbal tea. I don't want to hear your excuses about not liking them or not liking hot drinks or whatever. Try some honey, ice it, whatever. Figure it out. Or don't. I don't care. You can also take some herbs and put them in your bathtub. Take a nice little herbal bath. Always know what you're working with, because some herbs, you can't make out of teas, for one. And then some herbs you don't want to put in your bath water because it may cause an adverse reaction. When you're starting out with things like this, always start slowly Move very slowly, test out areas, make sure that you specifically are not sensitive to that herb, because just because it's not generally something that people are allergic to doesn't mean that you're not allergic to it. People win those rare lotteries all of the time, way more frequently than regular, real awesome money lotteries. Essential oils are also something great to diffuse and use and just sniff. A lot of herbs have magical properties. So like rosemary, for example, would this be considered magical? I'm not sure, but rosemary is associated with mental clarity. So good for memory, good for focus, things like that. Frankincense, sandalwood, clary sage, these are all grounding. They're woody, thicker smells, if that makes sense. Lots of ways that we can play with herbs. And I just want to invite you to do something with some sort of herb. You can, and it can be as simple as something I used to like to do years ago. I don't really cook a whole lot these days. But for example, rosemary can be associated with abundance. So if I'm cooking something that can take rosemary, which, it's a little bit of a strong taste. So not everything can just take some rosemary. But if it can, you can sprinkle it in with the intentions and thought process of abundance. So you're mixing in the magic of abundance into your food, which then you and your family will consume. It will become a part of you. So then more abundance will be attracted to you, because like attracts like. And if you're intending the vibration of abundance to be taken in, then you're also thinking about abundance, which creates more abundance, and then you start to notice the abundance. And this is just a very mildly generic example. There are no rules here. This is just fun and games and playing. So you can take it and do with it whatever you like. Just like rosemary is associated with mental clarity. When you're making, like grilled steak, my husband makes a wonderful rosemary steak. That's my favorite thing to put rosemary on, or to have rosemary be put on. You can do something like that the day before a big test. So you have mental clarity and focus tomorrow. It doesn't matter what you do. And does it work or not? It all works in your mind. The mind is where the power is. If you believe and you want to believe, then that's exactly what you put out into the world. That's what you put out into your thought processes, and the focus of that compounds on itself and builds momentum. So then your thoughts are more focused in that direction, and then your words and your actions are more focused in that direction. So regardless to what you're wanting that day, it's good for introspection to figure out what you need that day, and it can be anything in the world. So I picked abundance and clarity, but it could also be love, compassion, connectedness, peace, ease, literally anything. Health, wealth, stealth. I don't know. What are you trying to do? Journal about it. Think about it. Write random nonsense about it, because there's power in the written word. So there's lots of power in taking a pen and paper, and it doesn't even matter what you're writing, okay? No one's ever going to see it unless you show them. You don't even have to reread it again. It's just nonsense. It's fun. That's it. And it's good for the soul. It's good for the inner child to create, and it works. And there's also something about putting pen to paper that activates reward centers in our brains, because it's like, oh, I'm making progress. I'm doing the work. I am journaling. It doesn't matter if it's nonsense. I'm so serious about this. It doesn't matter what you write. Just start writing. You can just start writing random words that pop in your head that are associated with abundance or healing or whatever. You can just start rhyming. You can, whatever you want. Tell a story. Tell an old story, a true story, a false story, a made-up story, a fantasy story, whatever. Write about how dumb I am, how dumb all these processes are. The more you focus on what you want in any form or fashion, the closer you get to those things. Writing about what you want is a form of visualization, but its counterpart, you can trauma dump or complain, vent, whatever you need to get out of your system, jot that down, rip the paper out, or, just crumble it up, whatever, burn it, trash it, rip it up. It's symbolic to releasing. Burying it, that's an interesting concept I just learned about, but sure, why not? That's not going to hurt the ground, right? Not just paper. Would that be littering? Gratitude journaling, so just making lists of everything that you're thankful for. And sometimes I know we have a hard time figuring out what we're thankful for. I understand, I have been that deep and dark. We can focus on, when we have those challenges of finding what we're thankful for, you're like, everything sucks. Well, I'm super thankful that the sun came up today and we didn't get hit by a comet. I am super thankful that my lungs and eyes and ears and legs are all still working appropriately and well enough. Super thankful I haven't starved to death yet. Super thankful for internet, because you couldn't listen to this if you didn't have that. And the device that you're listening to it on entertains you for hours every day with probably very little complaint. Anyway, the full moon energy is to be used for self-care and reflection, inner work with the mindset and the belief systems and the letting go and the releasing and the healing, clearing. We're clearing out all of the old energies to make way for the new energies that are coming up in the next 2 weeks with the Taurus new moon. I promise it's Taurus. LOL, haha. I'm going to hopefully be a little bit more careful in noticing that and just knowing that, hey, maybe you need to, you know what, that is perfect Mercury retrograde energy though, is it not? The trickster, the jokester, Mercury retrograde. So funny, ha ha, teaching us to take life a little less seriously and slow down. So anyway, it's been nice talking to you. I'll talk to you next time. Love you so much. You're doing a great job. Namaste.